Hi guys, it's Melissa, and today I'm going to talk to you about the things that special needs families wish that you knew. So if you want to learn more, stay tuned. Okay, I'm going to try to make this video streamlined. I've tried to film it a couple times and it goes a little bit longer than I want, so hopefully I can get this streamlined. I am a mom of 2 with special needs. I have my regular YouTube channel, the Melmar Group, and then I also have a group called Special Ed Law Mom, and I talk more about education issues and the law over there. But I will hopefully be sharing this video with both channels because I think it's really important for people to know things that you might not have thought of before. I got this idea from Angie over at This Gathered Nest. She recently did a video about adoption and things that adopted families would want people to know, and I thought that this would be good for this subject as well. So it's in no particular order. I'm just going to go through it as I can. The first thing I would say to you, and the overall theme of everything I'm going to tell you, is that special needs families want to feel included and loved. Bottom line. It is a very isolating world to have a child with special needs. You don't do the same things that other families do. You don't necessarily have the same type of disposable income that other families have. Your world is different. And you won't truly understand that. And every special needs house is different because there's different disabilities. And you will never probably understand that as a non-disabled family. But at the end of the day, just like human nature, everyone wants to feel loved and included. And unfortunately, there are families, special needs families, who are not typical and they don't fit in. And as much as people smile and try to be nice, it's not genuine. And they struggle to find a group that they fit in with. So remember that as the overall theme of this video. We just want to be loved and accepted for who we are, warts and all. Okay. The first thing I would say beyond that is that progress and success is not a miracle. And this will tie in with several other things on my list. I have people say to me, it's a miracle. Your kids can do this, that, or the other. Do you know how many hours were spent teaching my kid how to eat ice cream? Do you have any idea? Because we had to spend a year in occupational therapy learning to play with yogurt so that we would eventually put the yogurt in our mouth so we could deal with the creamy texture. That is not a miracle that my child now eats ice cream. There was a lot of hard work that went into that. And that is the same for so many different things that these kids can do. Along with that, because there's so much that goes into that, it's very expensive to get the therapies that kids need. And I'll talk more about that in a minute, but it's not a miracle. Yes, there are blessings from heaven, and I'm not trying to discount any kind of blessing that comes, but the Lord helps those who help themselves. And so along the lines of that, with the expense piece, it's so expensive. And 2 stories with that. We were in a social skills group with another family, and their oldest child and mine had about the same skill set. And they were young, 5, 6, 7 years old. And that mom told me that she didn't want to spend all of her time on therapies because she wanted to travel and she wanted to be able to do other things with her family. And I get it. I totally get it. I understood. But for me, I felt like we had to do everything that we could as early as we could because early intervention is such a key. And so she went on her trips and did all those things, and we were in therapy. And I saw her years later, and her child was about the same as I remembered him. But my child had made a lot of progress, and she saw that. and she asked me to tell her what my secret was. I didn't have the heart to tell her. We gave everything we had to the therapies. We didn't take vacations for 6 years. We didn't do any of that because she didn't need to hear that. And I don't know if she had spent the money, if her child would have been any better. I don't know. But I knew for us that we had to try. Another thing is, as far as expense, when my second child was diagnosed with autism, I knew that we were going to be doing everything times 2. Now imagine that. 2 speech therapy appointments, 2 OT appointments, 2 feeding appointments, 2 ear appointments, 2 everything. At one point, my kids each had 18 therapists or specialists that they worked with, that I had to manage all their appointments, all their sessions, all the co-pays, and it was really hard. And my husband makes a decent living, but when you've got all this money going out the door for these therapies, it squeezes you pretty tight. And for the first time ever in my life, I went to the Social Security office and I begged them to help us, explaining that I had to do everything times 2. And they told me, your husband makes too much money. Think about that. And in our religion, it's a sin to live together and not be married. But we talked several times about getting divorced so that I could qualify to get all the Medicaid and the this and the that for the kids as a single mom so we could help them. So it's a really flawed system and it's really expensive. And other than dealing with the day-to-day of caring for these kids, the families are dealing with expense that is through the roof. So just be kind to them. Just be kind. Let's see. Another thing I would say is moms and dads of special needs kids are amazing. They can be. There are some crappy ones. They're amazing and they're wonderful, but they're no more special than anyone else. People will say to me all the time, God must have known what he was doing when he gave you these kids. Maybe he did. I don't know. I'm going to ask him someday, hopefully. But I just do the best I can every day with what I've got. If you had a family member with heart disease, you'd probably do the best that you could every day to help them. That's no different than what a lot of special needs parents do every day to try to help their kids. It's just the reality of the situation that we're given. And it doesn't make us any more superior or beloved in the eyes of God or any of that. We just are who we are. We're in the circumstance that we're in, and we try to make the best of it every day. Another thing, people are not defined by their disabilities. This drives me crazy. I hate it when people say, she's autistic. Do we walk around going, she's heart disease-ish. She's canceristic. No. Whether it's a disability and a disability is a medical condition, it's no different than having another kind of medical condition, heart disease, obesity, all these things. Some of them we have caused ourselves, like obesity, and some just come upon us. And, these kids don't, or whoever, doesn't go around trying to become disabled, and they're certainly not defined by their disabilities. So I like to refer to my kids as such and such and such, who also happens to have autism, rather than saying autistic. It's just, I'm sorry, it's just really offensive to me. And their family is not defined by the disability either. So please, 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 just refer to them as people first. Okay. So the next thing I would say is, sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. People with disabilities, just like anyone else, have good days and bad days. And People, when they're in a comfortable setting, are more likely to show their true emotions than when they're not. So my kids used to come home from school, and I would hear that they had a great school day, and they would fall apart when they got home. And I would think, what the heck? And so I would tell the school, oh, we're falling apart, we're doing this and that. And they would say, we don't see any of that. And then I finally started to realize, because at first you think, well, is home just an awful place and they're just miserable and that's why they fall apart? Or what's the problem? But then I started to hear the same thing over and over, that this happened in other families. And then I put it together. They feel comfortable at home. They feel comfortable at home. They feel safe at home. They hold it together when they're out in public, and then they can fall apart. Sometimes that facade will crack a little bit when they're in public, but you're going to see it, especially when they're younger, at home. And if you think about it, we all do that. I might hold my tears in until I get home, and then I cry. So if you have a mom, if you see a kid that looks like they're perfectly happy and everything is great and on and on and on, just know it's not always like that. Just know that it's not. Because just like anything else, they put on a good show and then they go home and they're their true self. And that true self can be quite negative depending on how much of a good show they had to put on. Okay. So the next thing I would say is small things, small achievements are huge to us. Huge. So I remember the first time that my daughter ate a quesadilla. Now you're thinking, okay, a 2-year-old can eat a quesadilla, right? I think she was probably 5 or 6. And she ate a quesadilla and she liked it. Just the other day, we took our girls out to lunch to Cafe Rio. And my one daughter doesn't normally like Mexican food. She only likes bean burritos. And she doesn't like when I cook chicken or other meats in the crock pot because I shred it and she doesn't like the texture. And she went to Cafe Rio and I ordered something that I was hoping she would try. I ordered a chicken quesadilla. And it had the shredded meat and it was Mexican flavored, and she tried it and she liked it. Okay, this is a kid that's 14. Do you know how exciting that was for me? I wanted to cry in the restaurant, and I gave her almost my whole lunch because I was so happy that she liked it. And then I came home and cooked my own lunch at home after we'd already taken them because I was so happy that she liked it. And that was such a simple thing. I mean, your 2-year-old might eat that. But for me, it had been years in the making to get this kid to eat something other than a Taco Bell bean burrito. And so that's such a small thing to so many people, but it's so big to all of us. So whether it's that they learn to tie their shoes, they learn to write their name, they make a friend, they get invited to a birthday party, something like that. Those little things that you might take for granted every day can be really huge to us. Okay, sorry, I'm skimming through my list. Know that we are not naive, that stares hurt when you stare at us, when our child is doing something that they shouldn't. Know that the disabled person knows a lot of times that they're different and they hurt. It's really hard to have your kid come home from school and tell you, I hate being the disabled kid. Why am I cursed with this or that? Why am I punished? Why don't I have any friends? It hurts. It hurts really bad. It hurts them and it hurts mom and dad. And so going back to that, just love them and include them. We had a neighbor that I had watched her kids, and she had come over with her kids for play dates. Her kids were about the same age as mine. I thought we were friends, and one day I was out in the yard doing something and she came walking by. We talked for a minute and she said she was handing out birthday invitations for her daughter. But there wasn't an invitation for us. She didn't offer one. And I was so hurt by that. And I understand that parents want their birthday party to be perfect, or, they don't want to have the disabled kid there or whatever. But what kind of lesson are you teaching your children if you can't include everybody? And if you're so worried about something being perfect that you don't want to be bothered with the disabled kid, you have no idea how special it can make a kid feel to be included in a birthday party. Something that simple. So just keep that in mind with my whole theory of just love us and accept us and include us. Okay. So the final thing I want to tell you is a story called Welcome to Holland. And I wish I had it pulled up to read to you. I don't. You can Google it. It's just called Welcome to Holland. But I'm going to tell you the general premise of the story and finish with that. So let's say that the story starts out that you're so excited. You're going to go on this trip to Italy, and you've always wanted to go to Italy. And you're going to eat wonderful pasta, and you're going to go to museums and see historic sites. And you're so excited that you're finally getting to go to Italy. You pack your bags, and you get on the plane, and you can hardly wait. And a few hours later, the plane lands, and they say, "Welcome to Holland." And you're like, there's been a mistake. I'm supposed to go to Italy. What do you mean, welcome to Holland? And you say, when am I going to Italy? And they tell you, you're not going to Italy. You're going to stay in Holland. And you're like, what happened? And you realize there is no other option for you. Holland is the end of your journey. That's where you're going to stay. And so you can choose to be miserable, but doing so, you would miss all the beauties of Holland, the windmills and the tulips and all the beautiful things that are there. And so instead, you are sad that you never got to go to Italy, but you learned to love Holland. That is the same premise as when you become a special needs parent. Whether it's when your child is born and you can tell that they have Down syndrome, or when they get a little bit older and you realize they're not developing the same and you have them diagnosed, or they have a horrible accident and something happens to them. In those moments, your Italy became Holland. And you can choose to be miserable, or you can choose to accept it and move forward. Now, there is a period of mourning. The mourning can happen suddenly. I have a friend who had a child born with Down syndrome. She said she didn't remember the first 3 days after the child was born. For me, our first diagnosis with our oldest was a relief, because I felt like, yay, it's not me. I'm not a horrible parent. And I went around telling everyone, she has autism for 6 months whenever she did anything that people would look at strangely. And then one day I said, she has autism. And that hit me really hard. And it can hit over a period of time. Just because you've mourned it at one time or had a good cry about it one time, just as with death or anything that you miss out on, you may mourn it again. And so understand that also about special needs families. They want to be excited for you and all that you're doing and all the wonderfulness that you get to do. But at the same time, they might be sitting back thinking, my child will never do that. And so again, if you can just love us and accept us and include us, it will make such a world of difference. You will be blessed by the relationship, and we will be blessed by the relationship. So I hope that this helps you. I don't want it to sound preachy in any way. These are a lot of things that people would probably never say, but it is the reality. And if you're a special needs family and you can think of something else, please put it down below, because I would love to know and I'd love to be able to share it. I could have gone on and on. I had more things on my list, but they kind of overlapped. But again, just love us, include us, and accept us. And it'll be a blessing for both sides. So I hope that helps. Please share this with anyone that you feel would need it. And until next time, make it a great day. Thanks. Bye.